Again, today's discussion is going to be more geared towards designing towards images that can be used for an interface. And one of the common interface design elements is, of course, photos and using photos and tinting of photos. Let's go back real quick again to what I showed last week. Of course, was this one. So some of the things we'll talk about today, of course, is tinting a photo. Jean does she does a duotone, usually first couple weeks. Rotating graphics, we looked at that last week. Do you see the circle here? How to make something like this? This is round. I'll cover that today. See the roundness of that. We could use Illustrator to make something that looks like this and bring it into Photoshop. And then, so we're going to do stuff like that right now. Okay, so more of basic graphics. Next week we'll be putting it together into an interface, into size, and make it look like an app. But for today we're just going to go again cover some basic graphics and how to make them. Maybe how to make this box as well. Do you see this box right here? So how do I make basic elements? I just downloaded this picture because I wanted a starting point. Last semester I had an assignment, and there's a video on how to do that, and maybe you can try that, but it's more important. I'm going to go off of script of that and do something totally different. First thing I'm going to talk about is tinting graphics. It's very popular to tint graphics, as you can see, especially for backgrounds of things. Again, tint back here like that. Jean has several techniques to do that. I personally just like to do it by using a graphic and then blending it. So notice there is multiple layers in Photoshop. I think we were looking at that last class. Again, I use lots of layers in Photoshop. In this case, if you don't see layers in Photoshop, you can go under Window, Layers right here, Window, Layers. And inside of layers here in Photoshop, you'll notice you have a background image. That's the typical background image. How I do tinting is I tend to use a lot of vectors inside of Photoshop. And so vectors are objects that are easily manipulated without having to deal with pixels. What I mean by that is inside of Photoshop, and again, here's the toolbar in Photoshop. I just have a simple image that I opened up in Photoshop. I have my layers window open here, but you'll notice down here towards the bottom of the screen, you have different tools down here, and the tool that I'm talking about here is my vector tools, if I can find them. Where are they? There they are. This is a newer version of Photoshop. You'll notice a lot of tools are located right here underneath this little, the very last icon above the things here now. But you'll see, wow, I guess if I make my toolbar bigger, maybe it'll show. No? No. Uh-oh. Ah, I didn't want to do that. Okay. Whatever. The tools I was looking for are these ones: rectangle tool, round rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, line tool, and custom shape tool. These are, if I was going to build an interface inside of Photoshop, I would use these. As well as these tools right here are very similar to the tools in Sketch. Okay? I can use these as masks for things. I can use them for a variety of things. What I'm going to use it for right now is for tinting. And what I mean by tinting, again, is if you look here, you got this background of an image. So basically I put a blue background over top of it, and then I blend that blue background to the image itself. So I have blue here. I chose a rectangle right there, and I'm going to put my cursor in the upper corner. I'm going to drag a rectangle over top of my image like that. Uh-oh, it made it white. That's okay. If I want to color it, you'll notice it automatically makes a new layer over here. You can see the new layer. And it says rectangle right there, and then it brings up the properties window, which I can then color right here. And right there is a box right there for color, and I can choose a color that I want. I'm going to choose a blue. This is how I like to tint. So again, making nothing but a rectangle over top of an image, I can then, again, the rectangle tool is located here, and I chose after I drew the rectangle, it had the properties window pop up. If you don't see properties, it's under window properties, it'll pop up. Then once it's popped up, the best way to blend them is to use a blending mode. The blending mode is located under the layers window at the very top where it says normal right here. We can then go, and I like to use screen. You get something that looks like that. If it's a little bit too dramatic, you can change the opacity down and give yourself different versions. So again, how I like to blend images together is by using a rectangle and then using a blending mode under layers. These things are called blending modes. There's different ones. You can try different ones. They do different things, and you should try them. Blending modes have been around for a long time. In fact, we used to use a program called Macromedia Director about 20 years ago, and they actually had blending modes in there as well. And you can see the different effects you can get. Ooh, look at that one. My favorite again is the screen one, and then I can control the opacity here. So a very simple way to do that. Now the problem that you have, of course, is you have two layers. So if I was going to work with this and use this image in a layout, I would probably want to either group these two layers together to use them as a team, or I would squish them down. How do you squish things down? Is in the layer window we can merge the rectangle with the background to make it one layer, and then we can do something with that. So again, to merge these together, I can click on the rectangle, and to squish this down onto this image, I can go in the layers window, in this pop-up layers window. There is a window at the very top up here in the upper corner right here, and you'll notice you have a whole bunch of things there. Look at them all. Whoosh! Lots and lots of things up there. One of the things you can do is you can merge down. What that does is take the layer that you're on and squish it onto the one underneath it. And now it sees it as one image. And then I can put it into an interface. So let's take this image and put it into an interface. I'm going to start with a new. So before I even move on, I'm going to practice kind of the skills that we learned last class. I'm going to take this image I just made and put it into an interface that I'm going to work on. To do that, I'm going to select it all by hitting Command A on the keyboard. Then I'm going to copy it by hitting Command C. So again, Command A selects all. You can see your marching ants around it, and then Command C to copy. Again, I'll show you again how I merge the down from the top layer down to this one is underneath the pull-down menu, and there's one that says Merge Down, or you can flatten. That squishes all the layers and so on. So there's ways to get whatever effect you want together. Okay, let's build a little interface today. I'm going to build one with again, basic tools today, very, very basic. I'm going to go under File, New, and when you're in Photoshop, they have the ability to make all kinds of different presets, and you'll notice across the top inside of Photoshop you have Photo for common photo sizes. They have Print for common print sizes like letter, legal, tabloid, and so on. They have art and illustration, poster sizes, and so on. They have video sizes as well. This is like a video size right there. Then they have web, which have common web size. Again, this is a large monitor all the way down to a small monitor, 13-inch monitor there. But notice it's Retina display. Ooh. In addition, they have a mobile one, which gives you the pre-made sizes for a mobile device. Notice it has all the different mobile devices. They got Android, they got iPhone, they got Microsoft Surface Pro. They got Apple Watch even. So if you're making graphics for Apple Watch and you're making a layout for that, you can actually choose that here, and so on. So you know, watch is becoming something, you know, popular. So the one I'm going to choose is going to be, let's go with the iPhone Plus. I'm going to choose the iPhone 6 Plus. So I'm going to build a basic interface, but again, very basic today. Very, very basic today. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to hit create, and it gives me an artboard. Now I'm going to paste that image that I just made in the previous screen inside here. Of course, it's going to be really big. It's going to take up the whole space, but if you remember from last class how we scaled things down. So if I go under Command V to paste it, oh, it didn't work. No, I can't paste. No, how about that? Let me try again. Command A, Command C. It didn't work. Command V. Oh, there it goes. Now it worked. Oh, I don't know why it didn't work the first time. But again, I had to go Command A to select all, Command C to copy, and then I went over here and hit Command V to paste. Notice how it is bigger than the size of the artboard. Notice that. So if you remember from last class, how did we learn to shrink things down? If we put our cursor along the edge, remember this thing showed transform tools, just like we did last class. This box is a show transform tools, again using the move tool. This is the same tools we used last class. I can shrink it down to fit in my screen, shrink it down to fit in my screen, and shrink it down to fit in my screen. So you can practice what we learned last class again, but this time we have a duotone. Well, it's not really a duotone. I kind of call it a tint. And then when you're done scaling your print down, you can actually hit this button right here, and it will apply it. So we have one image done for a screen. Okay, let's talk about text and putting text on the screen. Many of the things that we do in class will have to deal with information that has both images and text, as well as a title. So if you have never done text inside of Photoshop before, the advantage, and I'm going to zoom in before I even type my text, Command plus, and again, spacebar gives you a hand, Command plus, spacebar gives you a hand. So let's talk about adding some text to our interface here. You'll notice inside of Photoshop there is a text tool right here, and you got your horizontal or vertical text tool. They both go in both directions. If I choose the horizontal text tool, usually I just click. You can also click and drag a box. If you're going to have text that wraps, you want to click and hold the mouse down to drag a box the size that you want the text to wrap. I'm going to undo that. Oh, can't undo, I guess it says. I can't delete it. Okay, how about if I trash it? Yes. Another way to put text in is just to click with the mouse and let your finger up. It gives you an I bar. That I bar is flashing. And I don't know why my text is at 900 points here. But I'm going to go down to about 48. And I'm going to type in Santa Cruz. And I can highlight my text if I want. And I can change my sizes here. You can also scale it if you use the move tool. You can scale it using this. But the problem that you really run into, whoosh, I didn't want to rotate it. The problem you really run into, let's move this up a little bit, is the fonts that you see in your mock-up, which we are basically making what an app would look like, are going to be different inside of the Xcode or some programming language. Like this font right here is called this Merid, whatever it's called here, Merid Pro is not one that I would probably use in Xcode. One of the things I'd probably use is the default font, the San Francisco, and I don't even think we have it on here. We should probably get it on here. We're going to have to get it on here. The San Francisco is the default one. They don't have it on here. We're going to have to install it. But fonts are very tricky in app design in that, you know, you can't really use the, you know, crazy fonts like this. They don't scale well in app programming. And if I was going to use a crazy font, let's say I love this one. I love it. This is great font. I think it works well with my design, right? Looks great. But if I was going to take this to an app programmer and say, yeah, this is what I want to do, they're going to say, well, you know, that font, you know, well, you have to make it graphic. So what you would have to do is take that text and make it a PNG file and then program that PNG on there. It's not going to scale nicely inside of Xcode and so on. So, and in your discussion this week, I actually point that out to you. Is it a good thing? You know, it's great that you can use San Francisco for scaling graphics in Xcode, but you know, this looks great for this design, but is it practical to use it? It's going to lend some problems in the future to programming, but it's also going to lend some problems to, you know, I love it. It's more interesting, but it could be problems later. And then of course you have your kerning problem between the T and the A there, right? But don't be limited to that. Don't do it. Of course, Jean teaches us how to kern, doesn't she? Put it in there, and then we can go up to our paragraph option and character option, and here's our kerning. Where's our kerning? This one right here, huh? It doesn't let me kern. I have to select both of them. Oh no, here's kerning here. Nope, I can't kern. I don't know how to kern in Photoshop. Which one?
What is kerning?
Where we change the space between. That worked actually. Between the two letters, because right now the space between the T and the A is too much, right? It doesn't look right. And then this doesn't have enough space. Let's put it there. But the space between the T and the A is too much. In the character option inside of Photoshop, there is a kerning feature right here, but oh, here we go. I don't know why it wasn't giving it to me before, and I can go down maybe 50%. Oh, see that? It just made it a hell of a lot better. So that looks a little bit better. So think about text. Again, for my mock-up, I'm going to have some text down here. If you want to use a body of text, what I mean by a body of text is text that has text that lines and wraps. Use the text tool here, and when you don't just click because it'll make a line of text, you click and hold the mouse down and drag like that, and then you get a whole bunch of text in there. I'm going to choose a nice plain font like Arial, and then I'm going to choose a small size. So here we go. So again, another way to put text on the screen is to click and drag. By clicking and dragging, you make a box of text. Even in Illustrator, even in Sketch, even in Photoshop, it's the same way. You draw a box with the text tool. Next, I'm going to go and steal some text on the internet. Let's go to archive, or not archive, what do we want to go to? We're going to go Wikipedia. That's the best place to steal text. So if we go to Wikipedia and we type in Santa Cruz, and we want to steal some text, I can highlight my text here. Copy is Command C, copy on the keyboard. Then I can go over to my Photoshop, find my text. If it disappeared, you can click on it. Somehow it disappeared on me, didn't it? Oh, it didn't work. Yeah, I don't like doing text in Photoshop. Where'd it go? Oh, how about if I just make a new box? You notice I deleted them. There's like a delete box here. See a little trash can in Photoshop here, right there, delete. So again, this time I'm going to draw a box, and then I'm going to paste my text. there's a character window. Under window character, allows you to change the font as well as you can change the font up here as well. What do I want? Arial. And what did I say? Like 48 point? There you go. So again, up here is where you can change your text. And if I hit Command V, it should paste my text. If the text doesn't fit in the box, you'll notice it gives you a little icon down here in the bottom. It says it doesn't fit. So maybe we could change the size. Oh, I guess we got to select all the text. Command A selects all. And let's see. There we go. So again, get used to text. Another way to put text is to use the text tool in Photoshop. It's going to work the same as it does inside of Illustrator as well as inside of Sketch, where if you click once, you can put a line of text. If you click and hold the mouse down with the text tool, you can draw a box and you can paste text inside there. Okay, so practice that for a moment. Make sure you know how to do one line of text, and then we'll get to and then one line of text as well as a box of text. The advantage of a box of text, of course, is that here's the problem. Look, it looks like it scales. That's not what I want. What if I want to change my box? Well, you have to use the text tool to do that. So if you want to change the actual box itself, don't try and use the move tool. Use the text tool. And if I use the text tool, then I can change my text, and notice it'll wrap. Do you see that? Using the text tool, I can change the size of the box and the text will continue to wrap. If you try and use the move tool to change the size of your text in Photoshop, it'll think you're scaling it. Do you see that? So practice that if you can for just a minute. Make sure you understand the difference between putting text in. Again, it's the same way as it is inside of Photoshop. It's the same way as it is inside of Illustrator. It's the same way as it is inside of Sketch. All three programs do it the exact same way. So once you learn how to do one in one, then you should be able to do it in the other one. Again, the text tool is this one. Draw a box. See if you can copy and paste. And so on. I'll come and see if you did it. You can ask me a question. We can pause the video. So again, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to use my move tool. Let me scroll down towards the bottom here. Oh, I guess we should put another picture in here. We don't have enough stuff in here, do we? Should we get another picture? What else can you do in Santa Cruz? How about bike riding in Santa Cruz? How about we put a bike riding picture here, and then we'll put our tab menu. Let's do one more picture. I'm going to go steal off the internet. Let's go steal. I'm going to go to Google and go to Google Images. And let's type in, what are we doing? Bike in Santa Cruz. There we go. Biking in Santa Cruz. Oh, there's a Santa Cruz bike. Oh, that's the type of bike, isn't it? Oh, this is awful cute, isn't it? Look at that. Okay, let's be thieves and steal. Okay, so a quick and easy way to get an image that you find on the internet, of course, into Photoshop, Sketch, or Illustrator, either one, is to copy and paste. Once I find the image I like, I can right-click on it and say Copy Image. So find an image. You can right-click on it and say Copy Image. I can go back to Photoshop, and I can then go under Edit, Paste, and it'll paste it in there. It might not be the right size. Might have to resize it. I know scaling bigger is probably not the best thing to do, but I'm going to do it. And I can apply it there. Okay. So again, you can actually copy and paste right from the internet in So it looks kind of good. It's kind of big picture though, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it a color. I'm not going to tint it because it's going to be something I want people to look at. You know, the tinting thing is something that adds to the design. But if you think about it, you know, here on you know, if we look at the website here, you know, I got this beautiful kind of tinted picture in the back, but that's just for, you know, that's just part of the design. If I'm showing something that's important, like let's say a product, you know, the product is in color, you know, color. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, let's make a tab menu at the bottom. Before I continue to make my tab menu, I'm going to try and organize my layers. Now, right now, if you notice, what we have here is we have 5 layers here. We've got some text, we've got some pictures. Organization is going to be very important, especially once you have a design that has, you know, 100 layers to it, and eventually you will find that you will have a design that has 100 layers. So you need to kind of start organizing your layers, naming your layers. Like this should not be called layer 1. This is my design image up there, and this is my bike photo. So I can start naming them. So in this case, I can name this is my bike photo. You got to just click on it twice. Gently. And then this one is the tinted surf. Tinted surf, I guess. I guess I could call it my tinted surf image. Next, I'm going to take all these pieces and put them into a folder. Just like you have folders on your desktop, right? On your computer, right? I have folders on my computer. I put all my photos in them. I put my movies in a different folder. I put my documents in a different folder, and so on. You can actually organize your layers in Photoshop in folders. So all this is kind of like the basic design of this screen here. So I'm going to click on the top one, which of course is my bike photo, and I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to click on the last one. So I'm going to select all these images right here by holding the shift key down to select all the layers themselves. And then in that pull down menu over here for the layers window, in the pull down menu for the layers window, you'll notice there's some that say new group. I'm going to say new group from layers. What that'll do is it'll take and make a group of all these layers. So I'm going to say new group from layers. Do you see that? Again, I selected all these with the shift key, and I said new group from layers, and that puts them all into a layer. Let's say this is the main art. I don't know, whatever, something like that. If I hit OK, boom, it makes a folder in my layers window. If I twirl it down, you'll see that. Close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open. What's that?
Well, I guess if you just hit the lock icon, you can lock the entire.
Yeah, this will lock everything, so you can't mess with it. That's a good idea if you want to keep it the way it is, so you're not messing with it. That's a good idea. There's a lock feature right here. It locks everything in there. Next, I'm going to make my tabbed menu at the bottom. That goes along the bottom there. To do my tab menu, I'm going to go and make a new group right away. Notice how you can, before you even start drawing any artwork or do anything, I could say new group. And let's call this tabbed menu, like that. And it makes a folder in there that I can then start building my tab menu. So organizing things in folders and groups is going to be important. The other nice thing about it is that when we get to doing that, and we're going to do that in all the programs that we use in this class, but you know, let's say next week we're going to be doing an interface for people signing up for become a member, right? You ever notice when you have members to a website, you see usually they have a picture of a person and it has the name of it. Probably gonna be food, but Get the idea. So, you have a picture, and then you have the text with the title, maybe it has a description of whatever, and then maybe, whatever, you got little stars going here like this or something like that, right? Maybe it's a problem. What we can do is we could group this into like a folder like we just did, then we can just duplicate it. And then, so we'll duplicate that whole folder of all the artwork, and then change the picture, change the person's name, so on, and give them 2 stars. Or 5 stars. So what I'm trying to show you is the way you organize in the layers here is very important, because then you can take that whole folder of content and you can duplicate that whole folder and then adjust the artwork accordingly. Yes?
How did you create the tab menu folder?
Go to the hold-on menu and say New Group, just New One. The first one I selected the layers, and then I said New Group from Layers. This one I just said New Group, and it makes a new folder with nothing in it. Okay, so let's make our tabbed menu. So the common tab menu, and we can just look at it real quick. I didn't bring my adapter, so I can't bring my phone on. I didn't bring anything to put my phone on today. No. Okay, so let's make the typical one is gray. I could see like a gray. So making sure the tab menu is selected here. Again, I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Remember the rectangle that I used before? This one right here, the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle along the bottom of my thing here to give me a simulate my tabbed menu here. Now, of course, it's plain ugly white. Okay, and if you remember from the properties window, we can color it, but I'm not going to do that. What I want to do is I'm going to make a slight gradient in there, and if you've never made a gradient in a computer before, basically what a gradient is, and I think last week it was kind of a word that I talked about that you're going to have to get used to looking at. A gradient is where it goes from one color to another color. So we're going to do a slight gradient on this. Now, to keep things very editable, that's a term, editable, we looked at the FX last class, and I think we did something with the FX. Did we do a stroke or something like that? What did we do with the FX last class? Did we do something with the FX? I thought we did something with the FX. Oh, drop shadow.
Oh, drop, yeah.
That's it. Okay. So today we're going to do the effects again. Don't worry about this color, because this is going to override this color. So again, draw your box, and if you go here where it says effects right here, we're going to do a gradient. So again, right here, this FX down here, we're going to do gradient overlay. Gradient overlay. And then if you look here, you'll see there's a gradient box in the middle right here. The gradient box. This is the option, and I'm going to do, I defaulted to this black and white right here. Again, it should show up right here in the middle here. And I clicked the little arrow right here and did this, but I'm not, black to white is too dramatic. I'm going to go and click on it, and if you click on it, it brings up the gradient editor. And the gradient editor is a way to adjust a gradient. And in this case, you have black on one side and white on the other side. And of course, I don't want it to go from black to white. I want it to go light gray to kind of a darker gray, very subtle. So I'm going to double click on this little square right here and give it a kind of a darker gray. Oop, not blue. Darker gray. And I'm going to double click on this square and I'm going to give it a lighter gray. So I have kind of a gray background. Or you can adjust it. Look, I can even add another one here. Let me put a little darker gray on the bottom, at the top. And it goes from dark to lighter to darker. You see that often in a design as well. See how I can adjust it? So see, I will come around and help you a little bit. See, this is a very common way of making that. And notice the way that you have the gradient like this. Notice how this window is right here. When you get into the app design program, Xcode actually has something very similar. I can make gradients like that right in my app. they have the ability to make gradients in the app. Now I know we're just simulating it here, but in the programming language, in the programming for app, they have something that looks just like this, and you can make your own gradient bar.
Oh, I see. Oh, and then it shrinks. Okay.
You see how to make a gradient practice, making different gradients and seeing. Oh, you have the color. So get used to seeing gradients and how they work. They're very important to how things are made. Oh, this was last one, right? That's okay. Did you get a gradient of what?
I mean, I can get one from the tool, something like that, which is what I wanted, but I guess it's not working. Yeah.
Okay, as long as you can make a gradient. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get a gradient? Okay. So what kind of tabs do we want, right? Let's think of that. Okay, let's remember how to steal. So let's hit OK, hit OK. So stealing is good, yes?
How do you get the color
For the different what?
the different grades? Like from black to white to different.
Do you see this window? If you click in this box right here, and then the little square that's on the bottom, double click on that, and it brings up the picker. And then in the picker, you gotta click inside this window here to choose what you want, and then hit OK, and it'll change it to that. Double click in there, and you should be able to see it. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. And it should change, show you as you're changing it at the bottom there. Okay, let's steal. We've run out of time. I'm starting to get tired already. And I gotta go till 10 o'clock tonight. Evening as well. So, what do we got? We got maybe surfboard. What else do we want? Butterflies in there, like butterfly in Santa Cruz. We're gonna do butterfly paintings, right? Mariposa Park or something like that, right? So maybe a surfboard, a butterfly, and what else? Maybe boardwalk. I don't know. I can't think of an icon for a boardwalk. Maybe I don't know. So I don't have time to make that stuff, so we're gonna steal it. Okay, so here's how we're gonna steal it. We're gonna steal it from the noun project, make an image out of it, bring it into Illustrator, convert it into a vector, and copy that vector from Illustrator into here. So those are the steps. So first steal, Illustrator, Illustrator to Photoshop. Okay, here we go. So hit OK, hit OK. So stealing, we're going to go to Firefox. I'm going to go to the website I showed you this already today, noun project.com. And so THE noun NOUN project PROJECT.com, and let's put in surfboard or roller coaster. I don't know.
No, they actually put on the front page.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, right after the penguin.
So it doesn't matter. I'm just going to show one. So let's find an icon for that. Which one do we want? I don't like any of these. Any of these. Any of these. I don't know. You want one that looks like a tab? There we go. Let's say I like this one. Now, of course, I don't have an account with them, so I can't really download this because they want you to have an account. Of course, they want you to pay for some of them too. So besides doing that, we're just going to take a screen grab of this and bring it into Illustrator and convert it into a vector, and then take that vector and put it into the program. So to make this into a vector, I'm going to hit my Command Shift 4 on the keyboard. Command Shift 4, not all together, but hit Command Shift and then 4. Notice how the cursor turns into this crosshair. Do you see the little crosshair? And I'm going to start in the upper left corner with this crosshair, and I'm going to draw a box around this icon here, all the way around. And I'm going to let my finger up, and it takes a picture of that. Where did that picture go? Well, that picture went onto the desktop of the computer. So next I'm going to go into Illustrator. You should have an AI in your dock. If you don't, you might need to go into the Applications folder and find Illustrator. If you don't see AI down here, again, you might have to go to the operating system. You might have to go to Applications, look for Adobe Illustrator right here, and open it up. So you might need to do that. Okay, so I'm going to just say File, New in Illustrator. I'm not going to worry about size at this moment. I'm just going to say File, New in Illustrator, and just hit OK. You don't have to worry about size or anything like that. Just say File, New, File, New. Okay, next I'm going to take that screen grab of that icon I stole, and I'm going to put it in Illustrator. To put it in Illustrator, we use File, Place. File, Place. File, Place. And then, of course, we need to go to the desktop. If you don't see desktop, you can click right there. Now, when you take a screen grab, it should say Screenshot. And you'll notice I have one right there. When I click on it, it shows you my screenshot right there. See that? Screenshot. I'm going to take that screenshot and I'm going to place it by clicking and dragging into Illustrator. And there it is. Okay, it's in Illustrator. Now the quality isn't very good because it's from the screen resolution. It's not very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and tell Illustrator. Oops, I don't want to do that. I'm going to tell Illustrator to convert this into a vector and then bring it into Photoshop so that I can scale it and put it where I want. To tell Illustrator to put it into a vector, you'll notice in the very top screen up here there's an image trace option right here at the top. And if I click on there, you'll notice you have high fidelity, low fidelity, 3 colors, 6 colors, 16 shades, shades of gray, black and white logo, sketch art, silhouette, line art, technical drawing. Do you see all those? Probably the easiest one is to say I don't know, which one do we want? We could probably say black and white. It's kind of black and white, right? Let's see what that does. There it goes. Mix it into a vector. So I chose the one that says, and now it sees it as a group though, and we don't really want this as a group. What we really want is just the inside. Plus there's a bunch of white stuff on the outside. Do you see that? So I need to edit this inside of Illustrator. To edit it inside of Illustrator, I'm going to expand this by going under Object, Expand, Object, Expand. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to delete the white part that's on the outside here, but I want to keep the white part on the inside. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the white arrow. I believe that'll let me do it. Yeah. Use the white arrow in Illustrator. See the one that says direct selection, and click on this kind of the artwork that's on the outside. You notice I can click on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. If I click on there, I'm going to delete. Okay, so now all I have is what I have here. And that's okay. If you're not following along, it's okay. We'll do this a couple times in class. Don't worry. This is something we'll do pretty much a lot. And then I want to take this artwork that I just have here and I want to put it inside of Photoshop. So I'm going to use my black arrow right here, this one, and I'm going to select the entire icon right here. See it? I'm going to select the entire thing. And of course the copy is what? Command C. I'm going to copy this right from Illustrator, Command C. I'm going to go back to my design, my Photoshop design, and I'm going to hit Command V. And it's going to ask me how I want to paste it. And the way I'm going to paste it is I'm going to say Smart Object, this one, Smart Object, and I'm going to hit OK. And here is my icon. I can put it down here. I can scale it to whatever size I want because it's a vector. I might zoom in down there. Let me zoom in here. And I can put it where I want. And when I'm done moving it to where I want, I can hit the Move tool and say Place. And it's trying to do something here. It's adding it to my library, which I don't know why it wants to add it to my library. Really, my library is not working. There it is. Just put it in there. But there you go. Look at that nice, perfect icon stolen from a web page and put into my design going through Illustrator. The advantage of doing this is that it's vector. I can scale it as big as I want and hit the Move tool when you're done. And it's still crisp, sharp, and clean. I can scale it again. Crisp, sharp, clean. And so when I'm done, I'm going to save my files. Let's save them all. I'm going to save them all. This is my cell phone Santa Cruz. So there's all kinds of things you can do with all these different applications. I can take this same vector and bring it into Sketch as well and other programs as well. I can put it on the website as SVG, and I think I already told you today if I was going to put this icon into Xcode as a vector, I would use PDF. And then here's another option if you haven't done it before yet. How do I get this? Let's say I wanted to bring this into just the icon and take that and put it somewhere, right? In the old days, I would probably copy and paste, make a new file, paste it in there, and export. Too much work. So Photoshop has become smart, and you can export a layer now. Okay, so I have this in a layer, right? This is in a layer, right? I can come over here to the layer window. So let's say, let me back up a little bit. Let's say I designed this beautiful app screen right here, or this beautiful web design for a web page on a thing, and the client, whatever, says, I love it, so make it happen. Well, of course, you can't program this whole thing because it's just a graphic, right? No programming here. But I need to take the pieces that are in here and export them out as separate files and then program them together. So Photoshop added a way to export a layer. So I can grab each one of these pieces that I have here, like the icon, and in the layer window up here, in the layers window up here, in the pop-up window, remember the pop-up window where we were making a group right there? If you click on that, you'll see it says Quick Export as PNG. Do you see that? And if you click on that, it'll ask you for a name, and we're going to say, what are we calling this? This is my, this is surf icon, and I'm just going to throw it on my desktop for now and hit save. So again, I can click on this picture too. Let's go back to my picture. I can go to my tinted surf picture right here, my tinted surf picture. Go in the upper corner and say quick export as PNG, and it automatically puts the name of the layer in there. Did you see that? It puts the name of the layer in there as well, and I can export that out. So you can, in Photoshop, and let me minimize all this stuff, you can export, there it is, there's the surf icon, there's the picture. Then I can start programming these on my website. I can program this in my app program, and so on. So there's a lot of really useful features that they've built into the new versions of Photoshop and things like that that'll help you. And Sketch can do even more. Sketch can do all kinds of different things as far as programming wise. So save that, and then you can turn that in for your home. I actually had an assignment in here, it says Photoshop practice. Did you see it? And there's a video here, you can watch that, but you can just turn in what you did today. You can send me, actually save it as a JPEG because I don't want to deal with opening it in Photoshop. So if you go under File, Export as PNG, this will export the whole thing. It's different. This export under File, Export is different than the one in the layer. The layer one exports a layer. If you go under here, File, Export, Export as PNG here, it'll export the entire thing. And we can call this surf. What do we call this? Surf app. I don't care. Anything you want to call it. Surf app, and export it as PNG. And then you can turn it in. Right here, I actually had a different, but I think what we did today was a little bit better than this. You can watch this video and try some of the things. I talk a lot about working with layers, blending modes. We did that today. Using fill options and layers, what we did today, remember we made the rectangle. We did talk about type. Remember we talked about type today, and stroke and fills. We didn't do that really, but you can watch this. But I kind of adjusted this lesson to be a little bit more appy, if that's a word. Is that a word, appy? I think appy is a word, I guess. I'm going to make that word up, appy. So you can turn that in, and I would love to see what you did, and then I can give you credit. If you turned in the stuff last week, I gave you credit as well. And remember, I want you to do some research, right? And you should be drawing some ideas for an app or for food, right? And so on. Don't rely on the noun project all the time. So you should be reading some stuff and practicing some Photoshop. Watch that video if you can. That's in here. And remember, you're supposed to watch this video and comment on that. You're supposed to draw some food icons, as well as you're supposed to take pictures. I think I sent you an email saying I want you to take a picture of a restaurant menu, right? You should do that too soon, because we're going to be looking at restaurant menus. Any questions so far? Okay, try and... I know there's a lot to it. I made a video. I'm going to stop the video right now.